Hey, it's Skyby from Vital MX. It's time for the 14th episode of the Inside Line presented by Thor. As we count down to the 2019 Supercross series, we figured it'd be a good time to check in with the crew from Feld Motorsports who produced the series. A lot of the fans don't know the faces behind the scenes, so this serves not only as a bit of an introduction, but also as a way to answer some of the questions on the inner workings of the series. The bulk of our time was spent with Mike Mui, who's sort of the field general, but we also check in with Doug Cabrera, who works on the TV side, and Jay Laws, who runs the art department there and has been part of the crew for over 20 years. Before we dive in, we've got to thank a couple of brands that support the show. The Inside Line is presented by Thor. Since 1968, Thor MX has been supporting some of the world's most elite racers, including the 2018 250 Pro motocross champion, Aaron Plessinger. Head to thormx.com to see the racewear that Aaron and the rest of the Star Racing Yamaha team trust day in and day out. We also have to thank Feld Motorsports, who have been helping riders outfit their dirt bikes with parts, accessories, and tires for more than 30 years. Today, Shapmoto offers professional advice, online and in-store, helping you find the best riding gear and equipment for all your powersports vehicles. Visit shapmoto.com today. That's chapmoto.com. All right, Mike, what's official title for you?
Senior Director of Operations for Supercross.
What falls under the job description?
So a little bit of everything. I oversee the logistics and operations of all of Supercross. So we have obviously a large team that comes in and sets up the events and parks the Fan Fest area, builds the tracks. So I work with all of those groups and Sean Brennan's group at PR on all of the logistics and things at Supercross.
What goes into your week at a race?
A lot.
What day do you typically get to a race?
So I normally come in on Thursdays, and at that point I've already had a lot of communication with the track and operations teams. We actually have cameras that live feed the stream, so while I'm at the corporate headquarters I can still see what's going on. And then, but we do have our event manager on site that's actually orchestrating the build. When I get in on Thursday, a large part of the track is already set up and the Fan Fest is pretty well marked out, and just work with the team on making sure things like fan flow, competitor flow, to and from staging and a starting gate makes sense and are lined up with what our vision was and our plan was. Podium placement, making sure that it's not blocking any fan sight lines. Kind of a little bit of everything we dabble into, throughout the early parts of the week. Friday is normally reserved for media, as you know. Mm-hmm. So, we're pretty much trying to be completely race ready by Thursday night. So
maybe short of whoops and...
Yeah, short of whoops. We try to, hold off on those a little bit. But as far as the banners and everything being out, we like to be ready to go Friday. So if there is any alterations or adjustments we need to make, we're ready for them as well. We want the best product to be shown when we're doing the media hits. So that's really our focus throughout the day Friday, assisting the PR team with any press functions that happen as well. And then, just tightening up Friday night, ready for Saturday.
How late are you there Saturday night after a race?
It depends. So it depends how the night went. Sometimes we're out of there as early as midnight. Some days it's 4, 5, 6 a.m. So we actually load out immediately after the event. So our operations crew, as soon as TV goes off live air, you'll see a team of people come out and start pulling tough blocks off the floor. The structures start coming down. It's like a orchestrated swarm of people heading out onto the floor to get everything out and onto the next city, especially when we start getting to markets where we need to get in advance to help fight weather or whatever the case is. It's all hands on deck at that point to get out of the venue quickly. And nowadays, the venues are so booked up with other events, we need to get out because there's another show coming in right after us.
There's cleanup
to
do.
So there's no rest for the wicked when that happens.
Yeah. What does it take to get the events from city to city? How many trucks are there? It's basically a rock concert on dirt. So.
Yeah. Feld operationally alone, we have 14. And then we have 4 TV trucks, several merchandise T-shirt trucks that go with us. All in, when you include the race teams, we're 40 to 45 trucks traveling down the road, and that can swell to a couple more here and there, whether we include the bridge, the over-under bridge, or, But yeah, about 40, 45 going down the road. So
Yep.
it's quite a bit. We got everything in those trucks too. So there's I think 3 trucks with just tough blocks in them. Our new podium, we're actually designed a new podium that will be coming out this year. Takes up a truck in itself. The timing tower, that the LED takes up another truck. So it's a pretty significant amount of stuff we're carrying show to show.
You got your mileage out of that old podium, though.
We did, yeah. 17 years, I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's doing a farewell tour. It'll be in the Fan Fest with history of all the champions that stood on it. People can go up, take a picture on it, and see where, McGrath earned his 7 championships and all that stuff. So, should be cool.
Are all the autographs still on the back of the door?
That's a sore subject, buddy. It's a real sore subject. They used to be, and by mistake, they got painted over one year. Yeah, so thanks for digging that one in.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that would be a nice piece of memorabilia to have the wall in the headquarters down in Florida. But
how many guys are on the crew, and what's it take to get on the crew?
So we have about 20 guys that actually set up the banners, tough blocks, all of that stuff. On top of that, Dirt Works, our dirt contractor comes in. They're typically about 8. So about 28 total people come in to get on the crew. Actually, that's where I started. So I went to college near the place that made the banners. So I started making the banners, got to meet some people, got to hang the banners, all of that stuff. So really, it's just applying. You can do it at feldentertainment.com. We are always looking for people. So it never hurts to put in an application. And if you don't hear something soon, continue to send it in, every 6 months or so, and just stay top of mind. But you've got to have a strong back, and you got to be ready to work some long hours.
Yeah, I do see some new faces every year, but yeah, those guys are out there for long hours.
They are, and we try to make it fun. At the end of the day, we all do it because we love the sport, and that's probably the thing that kept me going all these years. Is I love the sport, love to see the sport grow, and that's where we try to hire people that have the same passion as we do, because when it's raining in Seattle and it's 4:00 in the morning and you're loading out tough blocks, you do it because you love the sport. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, feldentertainment.com's I got all the job listings.
Well, you said you worked your way up through banners and onto the crew, but you also ran the show for Arena Cross for quite a while.
Yeah. Actually, I just moved back over to Supercross about 3 years ago. I ran the Arena Cross program for 4 years, helped introduce the Road to Supercross program over there, as well as some of the other changes that were made. Arena Cross was an awesome property. I had started with Supercross, so I'd worked for Supercross for, I think at that point, like 6 years, and moved over to Arena Cross. It was a great opportunity. The people there are awesome. It's kind of a lot different feel than what Supercross is. You really get one-on-one interaction with the riders and the teams and all of that stuff. So it was a great experience and a lot of fun.
Man, we finally got a schedule. So it took a while for that one to birth out.
Yeah, it did. It did. It created a desire, a want. Everybody really was ready for it. Now, yeah, it's just, so obviously a couple of new venues on there. Those take time, but as I had kind of mentioned before, it's not like it was 15 years ago when booking stadiums. These stadiums, especially the new ones, the US Bank and Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta, they book a lot of shows now. Really makes it kind of challenging to make sure that Supercross holds its date, because they do have other shows, and we take up a lot bigger time frame in a stadium than what a rock concert might take. They can come in a day and be out the next day. Takes a while. Routing obviously is very important to us. Not only are we traveling those 20 plus trucks around, race teams are traveling, riders are traveling. It's something that we work really hard at. It's a puzzle. We have a room in our office with a whiteboard with magnetics that has all kinds of, it's literally a jigsaw puzzle trying to put it together, and finding venues that work. We want to go into new markets like Nashville and Denver. That's been multiple years in the making to just get those 2 new venues. So it just takes time. We know everybody was really excited about it when it did come out, and I think hopefully it was worth it.
Man, I had heard originally Denver was slated for maybe February, and I was thinking that sounds a little iffy.
Yeah, I don't think that was real. But again, like, we want to go into these new markets and show people that may not have otherwise seen Supercross live. And so we sometimes have to take a gamble, if it means playing earlier in the year, and, we just have to weigh the pros and cons of that, But I'm glad it's a little bit later, that's for sure.
Well, I remember you guys dodged out of Yankee Stadium. It was like a week or two before the start of the season, and it sounded like it was iffy to get the field back in shape in time before the start of their season.
Yeah. So it is. I mean, a place like going to baseball stadiums earlier in the year is obviously affords us a lot more time. We can turn around a field quickly, very quickly, but it's not something we prefer to do. The Major League Baseball is obviously upper echelon of the sport. We want to make sure that the turf we provide them has had its time to settle and build and root in, as the groundskeepers are too.
Well, the groundskeepers are picky at those places too.
Yes, they are.
Man, what goes into building a schedule? There's tracks like St. Louis where that's a rider favorite just from the dirt aspect, out this year. And you rotate some races in and out of the schedule also. Yeah,
so, I mean, like I was saying, we try to give, the country an experience, So people in Denver and the Denver DMA may not have ever been able to experience Supercross live. Unfortunately, we have 17 rounds, 16 technically, that we can work within, and so we pull and take in order to try and go into those new markets and enhance viewership for the amounts of people that we want to show Supercross to. St. Louis, I foresee it coming back on the schedule. It's just give it a little break, come back, give another market the opportunity.
The fans have to show up, though.
Fans have to show up. Yes, that's definitely important. But sometimes when we take a year off like that, it can actually be beneficial, and they'll return.
Some of the folks in the Northeast get a little antsy when it jumps back and forth between Boston or New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing. So actually, what's ironic is Boston and New Jersey are somewhat of the same DMA. So, while when we go north, we're pulling from even further north. When we go south, we're pulling from even further south. Mm-hmm. It's all about giving more fans an opportunity to experience it live.
Yep.
As you know, watching it on TV is awesome. We love it. But seeing it in person,
there's nothing like it.
You can't beat it. Yeah, you can't beat it.
When I was driving into Vegas before the Monster Energy Cup, I couldn't help but notice the new stadium there. Construction's already underway on Raider Stadium. Mm-hmm. Is it a short lifespan for Sam Boyd?
Oh man, Sam! I love going to Sam Boyd. We go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, U.S. Bank Stadium, Arlington, AT&T. New stadiums do provide a new feel for Supercross.
High-end sporting.
High-end sporting, yeah. It's a whole different experience, with
mm-hmm.
nice, huge diamond visions like AT&T Stadium and whatever. Sam Boyd Stadium affords us a lot of opportunity and unique layouts with the track. So, we've discussed it, of course. It's hard not to see it when you pull in to Las Vegas, for at least, the finals and Monster Energy Cup next year. We'll still be going to Sam Boyd.
I guess the same thing goes for the LA stadium that they're working on now.
Yeah, yep. Same goes for it.
How do you ease the minds of, stadium management when you're coming into a brand new facility and, hey, we're going to bring a bunch of dirt in with us?
Well, I mean, all the venues talk. They all have conferences together, so they know what Feld does. They know that we understand our property, we know what we can do. They've talked to the other groundskeepers or venue staff and have explained that, when we come in, we leave the facility the same way that we took over it. Mm-hmm. So by the time the final Dirtworks guy leaves on Monday or whatever the date might be, it's broom clean. So they understand that. They know that we've been doing it for many years and have more than capable operators. Some take more coaxing than others. At the end of the day, after the first event, it's normally a lot easier too.
Yep. The other thing we've been waiting on is the new TV schedule.
Obviously, it will be on NBC Sports Network. It was just recently released, so very excited to be working with those guys. Very excited to have the gold package and mobile content. Looking forward to a new partnership with those guys. I think it's going to be a good relationship over the years. Looking forward to Anaheim 1 with those guys.
Last year we experimented with some day races, and the schedule was a little bit all over the place. Some of those day races are kind of cool that everybody's done and out of there early.
Yeah.
Are we going to see any of that this year?
Yeah, so East Rutherford will be a 4:30 showtime. So that's exciting, especially being in the New York market gives people the opportunity to come over and see it. Other than that, we're going to stick with the night show program. From a live event perspective, it gives us a great opportunity because it's a different feel when you're under the lights and the pyro, as you know. And
there's a sparkle to Supercross that happens at night.
There's a sparkle to Supercross that happens at night. So I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, expanded a lot on the amateur side this year and switched over to Supercross Futures. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so we're really excited with the Supercross Futures program. As you know, we had 4 amateur Supercross rounds, a little bit of a test bed to
that was in 18.
Yep, in 18 to gauge interest, and it was successful. So we've decided to expand it to 8 this year with a national championship round, an AMA national championship round. We really kind of wanted to start from scratch, and we built it out accordingly. An entirely new, more robust timing and scoring platform that's more user-friendly during the registration process as well as the on-site process.
So end-to-end?
End-to-end, yeah. The website we built out accordingly, how-to videos, just wanted to make – it's all about the customer experience. We want riders to come race Supercross Futures and have a good time, and not only have a good time, but learn something while they're there as well. With the 250 Futures class, which is the Road to Supercross class, we want to provide an opportunity for those riders to really have an experience of Supercross and what Supercross really is. It's a different animal, not only what's happening on the track, but the movement, the quick, get to the line quickly,
run through the program.
Gates. So that's kind of what our vision was. Plus, as we had talked about a little bit earlier, is an opportunity for us as Feld to have interaction with these guys, get their feedback, us kind of tell them how the Monster Energy Supercross platform works and kind of get them prepared before they become professionals, all while having a good experience at the event. So really excited about it and looking forward to Glendale.
How much of a different experience is it going to be from the Saturday night track to what they're racing on Sunday? I know those guys go and watch the night before, and there's a little Supercross fever that goes on sometimes. Yeah,
well, it's a large genre of riders. We have the 4 to 8 year olds on the 50s up to the 250 Futures class, which is the next stars in waiting. So it's challenging. We don't want to make the track too simple for those Futures
watered
guys,
down,
right? But also don't want to intimidate the 50 riders. So we experimented a little bit last year. Came out of the gate, and the tracks were maybe a little bit simpler than most would like them. Come Glendale of last year, kind of creeped up a little bit. And Tampa and Atlanta, we kind of started hitting our stride. So they're not a full-scale Supercross track. I think a lot of people look at a full-scale Supercross track from the stands and may not understand the size and magnitude of what those jumps really are. But it is going to be a challenging track for all skill levels and all age classes.
Mm-hmm. Man, from the nosebleed seats, those jumps are tiny.
Yeah,
anybody can do those.
Man, I know. I'll tell you, I still honestly remember the first time I walked onto the floor. It's like, wow, it really is impressive when you see it up close and personal.
Well, when you're trying to walk the track and it's difficult to walk up some of the jumps, it's a different deal from the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, this changes the road to Supercross in a big way. How does that program work now?
Similar to what it had worked. So it would be in the 250 Futures class only is where you earn points towards your license. There's two ways that you can earn it. It's 6 points to earn it, and then 3 points are earned by taking first through fifth place at each individual round of Supercross Futures. So you can earn your license if you finish in the top 5 at 2 rounds. Additionally, each of those rounds are qualifiers for the AMA National Championship. So you will qualify for the AMA National Championship, and the top 10 from the 250 Futures class at the National Championship will also earn their license. So gives a couple of opportunities to riders in order to earn, the desired points. The National Championship takes place in conjunction with the Monster Energy Cup. So the 250 Futures class at the 2019 Monster Energy Cup will actually be in place of what was the Amateur All-Star within the night program. So they'll actually be earning their license there while they're also earning an AMA National Championship. So should be.
And any points that they had earned previously in Arena Cross, those carry over also?
Yes. So because of the way it was structured, it'll be wherever they had the most number of points towards their Road to Supercross license, they'll pull from them points and combine them with the Supercross Futures class. Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we extended it and make it as simple for everybody while still earning the proper qualifications in order to get their license.
Man, our international races in like Toronto have kind of disappeared. Is there any chance of future expansion back into international markets, or is that important to call it a world championship?
Yes, it is important. I mean, Supercross is prestigious, and being a world championship just makes it that much more prestigious. We do have interest in looking outside of the U.S. border. We're not there right now, but it is something that we're always looking towards. Just like here in the States, finding venues that have a open available date within the time frame in which we race is a little bit more challenging. Yeah. And we're not looking to expand the schedule any further than what it is because of the fact that riders are racing 29 races a year. So to try and go earlier in the year, it doesn't make sense for these guys. So as of right now, we're going to kind of stay
Well, in the old days, it used to be 2 rounds before even New Year's. So
yeah. Good old days.
Yeah. Well, there had been rumors also in the past of maybe expanding beyond the 17. So we're sticking at 17 for a while.
Yeah, I mean, like I had said, we don't want to add any more races to the rider schedules. It's not kind of our intention.
One of the things the fans often grump about is the purse seems to be stuck at a certain level. How is that determined, and where does that stand for the future?
So, I mean, purse is always a question, and we're always working to raise the purse. Some of the things that we're focusing on this year, aside from the purse, is contingency. Contingency is very important in our sport and any motorsport. So, my team has really focused on working with the American distributors and as well as outside partners. Everybody travels cross country, whether that's pilot, staying at Best Westerns or Holiday Inns or whatever. So trying to expand our contingency program to help supplement some of the purse.
I'm curious about what's cooking with the drug testing side. Obviously, I think everybody knows that drug testing is a necessary thing, but sometimes the process seems to be really, really slow when it comes to, as an example, Brock still doesn't know what his penalty is. Is there any way to streamline that and figure out what we do next?
Yeah. So over the summer, we've had a lot of conversation with AMA and FIM, who ultimately oversee that side of the program. But Dr. McManus, who's also here at our media sessions event, we've spoke with him quite a bit. We have the same concerns. Timeliness is key. They understand. and they are making the necessary changes in order to bring this to a faster scale, where we can get answers, maybe not in real time. I think there's a certain expectation there, but much faster than what we've seen in the past, and they understand our concerns, and they're working towards it quickly. So I hope that in the future, we don't have any positives, but if there are, that
That'd
they
be
move
the ideal.
faster. Yeah, exactly. But Dr. McManus, Chief Medical Officer from the FIM, is here in California, has met with all the riders for informational purposes, explain to them how these processes work, who to contact, when to contact them, met with the team managers while he's here. So really trying to be proactive. I mean, I think that's probably the more important part of it, is be proactive, tell the riders what to expect, tell them what not to do, and give them an opportunity to talk to someone and explain what they need to know in order to stay out of that predicament.
Yeah. Our season goes back to back to back to back consecutive weekends for a short span of the year. Yeah, I can see if there's a penalty, they want to let whatever's in somebody's system, make sure it's cleared out. They're not getting any benefit from it. But, some of the penalties seem really long. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know if that works for the sport.
Yeah, and I mean, that's been some of the conversation, of course, and ongoing conversation. I think really the focus is keeping these guys out of that predicament. The primary focus is. Secondary focus is, let's maybe take a 10,000 foot view and see where this needs to go. But really the advanced notification on what to expect is really kind of where we're heading in the direction right now.
When you say advanced notification, I'm sure it's not, hey, you're getting tested next weekend.
No.
It's just trying to
teaching
pre-educate.
And learning. Yeah,
okay,
teaching
gotcha.
and learning, yeah.
I think we're coming up to the end of the current deal with the AMA. Are you guys working to renegotiate that one?
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously worked with the AMA for many years now, and we look forward to working with them many years in the future. They've always been a great partner. They're working with us on the Supercross Futures platform. So, I think everything's looking quite well with that.
How about safety? What's been done to improve safety? And, we did see the introduction of nets last year. Those look like they had maybe some pluses and minuses, too. There was a little bit of learning process there, I think.
Yeah. So, the nets, we're actually going to be adding another net this year. That was kind of a trial, so to speak. And
you have to experiment.
We have to experiment. So we actually started, it's kind of gone on for a couple of years now. So we actually built one set, and we didn't want to just put them out on the track and say, hey, riders are going to go ride this with these nets here. So we built one, specific section of them, set it up at a couple events, east and west, so all the riders could see them and give us our feedback. We did get feedback. We made those changes and then decided to make an entire berm system, which we did. We learned. They were built out of lighter weight materials. That was we were building new poles in the middle of the year at one point, but
well, if they quit abusing them.
Yeah, I don't think I ever remember that many bikes going over berms in a year, but I'm glad that they were there when they were. Mm-hmm. So we'll continue. We're going to add 2 more of those. From a safety aspect, that's part of what we're doing here at media sessions is talking with each of the riders and getting that one-on-one time, where it's not during the hustle and bustle of the Supercross season where, they're focused on whether it's training or riding or whatever the case is, and we're not, busy trying to put an event on, just a low pressure environment to hear, kind of their thoughts on Supercross and safety, the tracks, and, everything that is Supercross. Making some adjustments, like you and I had talked about earlier with the 18 or the 9-inch blocks leading up to the takeoff of the triple, so the foot pegs don't count or don't catch.
Don't snag, yeah.
Yeah, don't snag. And I think it was Jordan Smith brought up to me maybe putting them same blocks on tabletops where they're 3 awning or whatever.
Step on, step off.
Step on, step off. So, that's probably something that we'll look to implement in the future. Triples, having exit strategies on triples. So if you don't have the approach to a triple, being able to dump out to the outside and still get back in. So we're always talking to these guys and trying to find ways to make it safer. We don't ever like to see anybody go down on any of our racetracks. So, anything that we can do, any stone left unturned, we'll do it. It's just, it's part of that communication back and forth with these guys. And we do, on race day, I get texts all day long about this or that we need to adjust. And, sometimes it's not always an easy decision to make. But we adjust the tracks as necessary. We've gone through whoops and had to lower whoops just because, a large majority of the riders had said they're too big, So we do that. We've removed obstacles. We've added obstacles.
Adjust,
Yeah. We never make those decisions in a vacuum, though. We've always talked to, a collective group of riders, and we try not to go to the same riders every time. We try to talk to, a wide array of riders and team managers and personnel and stuff before we make those types of decisions. But
well, you'll always have a very vocal minority.
Oh, yes. There's definitely a couple that like to tell you how it is. Yeah.
What all goes into the design on a track? And from some of the maps that I've seen this year, it looks like there's some experimentation going on.
A little bit. So last year we sat down with all the riders as well, and just kind of got overall feedback. And last year as well, I went through back to '97 and looked at all of the tracks, and I compared them against the lap charts, kind of determine, where was there good racing. Then I compared those against the track maps and some of the old bar-to-bar DVDs, kind of came up with a numbering system on what tracks raced well, what tracks were safe, and then we took those and kind of figured out what were the common denominators. Took those common denominators and built last year's tracks kind of based on those. Long lanes, long starts, wide first turns, and
specific design parameters.
Parameters. Talked with the riders; they were in agreement, and then so it seemed to work, well last year. This year we kind of used the same design parameters. Drew out tracks without really looking back to last year's tracks. Just same parameters, and wound up having the same tracks. There's only so many different variations you can put into a rectangular football stadium. So kind of pulled back a little bit and said, well, what else can we do to still, keep the tracks unique, keep them fresh for the riders, but also maintain that race consistency, the excitement. And so that's why, you see some of the different ones like Anaheim 1 where we're jumping across. It's still, we were able to keep a long start, long lanes, but, something unique where you're jumping back over the start. So just trying to think outside the box and still keep it exciting, but still keep that race component there,
Mm-hmm. I remember stuff like last year, the 2-level berms, San Diego, things like that.
Yeah. And I was nervous about that one. The whole night show, I didn't think it was going to work, and then boom, turned into the fast line. So.
Occasionally you get quirky things that happen, like that head-on collision in Dallas last year. Do things like that end up in the race notes and when it comes to doing new track designs? Yeah.
So that's actually what I do a lot on Saturday. So on this little iPad here, I sit there and just type notes away. And yeah, they do. We sit down with Dirtworks every year, AMA every year, and a lot of different people and talk through that stuff. Sometimes they're crazy incidents and maybe there's not much that you can do, but we always analyze and see, well, what makes sense, and whether that's putting, eventually the solution at that round was to put a 20-foot A-frame down there. Well, we've somewhat made it standard operating procedure that we always do that. We need to look at that because, we don't want that ever to happen. Mm-hmm. We review the notes pretty extensively, prior to drawing each track.
And it's tough because I go to the press conference every year and look at the row of guys up front, and I'm trying to pick out who's going to make it to the end, and I know you guys are concerned about safety, but what are some of the other things that you're looking at to try and make it safer and keep guys on the track through the season?
Yeah, I mean, so there's just so many dynamics, We've talked about transitions, Do you want sharp transitions? Do you want, what we call hot dogged out, where they're smooth transitions, They each have their pros and cons. A nice smooth one, yeah, you're getting through them, and it gives you a little bit more leeway, as you're going through a rhythm lane, but you're going pretty fast by the time you get to that rhythm lane. So, accidents are more catastrophic. If you make the transitions a little bit steeper on the front and back, there's not as much speed carried through, but it doesn't have as much room for forgiveness. So, just trying to find happy mediums and things like that. Trying to focus on the landing the triples, for example, making them big and fat and wider on the top. Reviewing race footage. Where did accidents happen? We know what happened to Barsha last year, and so that's kind of how the kick-out lane around the triples came about. It's we don't want to be reactionary. Sometimes, unfortunately, that's the way it comes out. We always try to be proactive, but it's just an ongoing thing, especially with the bikes that they're riding now. We just need to to adapt and as best we can.
The bikes are beasts now. Is there any thought of trying to slow them down?
No. I mean, I would say that's probably a question for the AMA, but I think we're working on developing the tracks to be more conducive to the four-stroke. Just in general, it's just a different delivery of horsepower.
And they abuse the heck out of the tracks too.
They do abuse the tracks, that's for sure. Yeah, and so we try to look at those things as well as thickening up the corners. So as we put plywood underneath some of the stadiums rather than an 8 or 10 inch base. If it's a corner where we know maybe on a 90 where they're going to probably go inside, we'll actually thicken that up. It's not really visual to the naked eye, but we'll put 12, 13, 14. Heck, one time I remember we went up to 18. I think it was in Indy, just so there's less likeliness of them digging down to the concrete or plywood. Yeah,
With the schedule kind of jumping around a little more this year, do you have more pre and post guys on going to different venues?
Yeah, so the Supercross Futures crew will actually travel with us all year. So we will do some leapfrogging, but not too much. We're pretty capable to get into a venue pretty quick, so we might have a few guys stay behind, just do the final cleanup in one market, and then they fly a day later, or vice versa. A couple guys that go in early, but we're pretty used to it. I wouldn't say that the schedule is really far off from some of the ones that we've had in the past. My biggest fear that keeps me up at night is the trucks, traveling through the mountains and not making it there more so than anything. But
e-logs don't help these days either.
No, e-logs aren't.
Those guys can't abuse it.
It's not like the old days, right? But it's we have a third party that's very reliable. That so far, knock on wood, haven't had too many issues.
You've mentioned a couple times what you've got going on around here. You guys are basically doing a lot of the preseason homework here this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're currently at our media sessions event in Anaheim, where all the riders were invited to attend, and it's really about getting everybody together before we get into the swing of Anaheim. Anybody that's ever lived Anaheim, understands that it's a very, very busy event.
There's a lot of nerves.
There's a lot going on, yeah. So to try and alleviate some of that, and give the riders the space that they need, we offer them this opportunity to come sit down, a few weeks in advance. brought in a media trainer from Kevin Sullivan Communications to sit down with them, provide them, talking points and a whole host of things that, worked with each of the riders on. Like I had mentioned before, we talked through the track maps and went through each individual one, got feedback from them on that, the AMA.
Who's good on giving you feedback? And
Chase Sexton was awesome. He had a lot to give feedback on, so that's always interesting. Aaron Plessinger probably gets the award for funniest track.
Most entertaining.
Yeah, most entertaining. I'm sure that's been seen on social media by now. So, each guy brings a unique perspective. Everybody kind of every rider sees a track in a different way, and we take those notes and kind of compile them and pull out like the commonalities. If everybody says I don't know, the start straight's too short in Detroit or whatever, okay, I get it. Let's take it back, talk with Dirtworks, maybe we make some adjustments there. It's kind of hearing everybody's collective feedback and making decisions based off of that.
Tracks always do change a little bit from the maps, right?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, we try to minimize it, but they do change. Once you get on site, nothing's ever perfect. You can go to the same stadium, build the same track 10 different times, and it's going to come out 10 different ways. And we try to cut down that red and the green on the maps too. Wherever we can.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
You also get to knock out things like headshots and video for TV and some of the things that you need for the TV production here.
Yeah. So it gives us an opportunity, in the NBC broadcast that all those bumpers that you see going to break and all that stuff, this is where it's captured at. So it's a low-pressure environment. Normally the riders are, a lot more laid back and have fun with it. We capture all of that stuff here, headshots and all of that. So
cool.
Video game scans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember some of that happening under bleachers at Anaheim last year.
Yeah.
Or in Vegas.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It happens.
Used to be a little bit different. Yeah.
We don't often get to hear from you guys, so I appreciate you taking the time. And
I appreciate you having me. It's it's always good to talk with you, and looking forward to 2019 and tune in to NBC Sports.
Let's dig into the TV side a little bit. And we've got Doug Cabrera here. What's the title for you now?
Director of television production, two-wheel.
You and I have been bumping elbows, down on the floor in the trenches for a lot of years. You with a TV camera in your hand, but you've got a different role this year.
Yeah. I took over the position last year, and now I oversee the production side of the whole broadcast team, and I also oversee Race Day Live. So needless to say that I'm a little busier nowadays. I still love producing and I still love shooting and editing, but that's I'm leaving that to the younger generation now. They can take over now.
How many years have you been at this?
Well, I started working for, we call it Feld Motorsports, but it was Pace when I started, November of '95. And I didn't know what Supercross was. I was just looking to break in the production world. And I was an editor. I had gotten my degree in video production in college. And, I saw this ad, editor for monster truck commercials. And I'm like, that sounds kind of cool. Got the position, and within a week, I kept looking over at this other editor going, what's that? And they're like, oh, that's Supercross. And little by little, I started, learning the sport. And I remember by the end of the season, the last round, we were in Denver, and I paid my own way to go just to check it out. And that was it. I was hooked, and it was a lot of fun. So I was hired in November '95. So really, my first season was '96. So '96 was when McGrath was just
killing it. So I got to witness it, right? So every week when the footage would come back, I'd do my spots, but then I'd be like, all right, let me go see what McGrath did today. And little by little, then that's how I learned who Jeff was. And, like Steve Lamson was racing back then, and, all those guys that just were great riders at the time. So Ryan Hughes, like all those guys. So, yeah, and then,
we went from there.
Got to watch Ricky and Bubba, and
I'm spoiled. I mean, I've been to the highlights, I think, of our sports where, when James arrived, when Ricky arrived. I was there the night Ricky challenged McGrath, and beat him, and we all know what happened after that, and passing of the torch. And I was there when James, moved to the 450 class. I was there when he won the first 250 win in Texas and in 450 class, which was both in Texas Stadium, I believe. But yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff. I saw when Reed won his titles, and of course the Dungies and the Villapotos, and I've seen it all.
On through the years, yeah.
Yeah, I'm spoiled. I'm really spoiled if I really think about it. So yeah.
Going from being on the floor, how's it changed for you now?
Well, I think having my background and everything that I've experienced up until now, I think helped me to get where I'm at, because I have a good understanding on the production side, right? I mean, there's also, the technical side, and then obviously the budget side and the financial side that you have to kind of pick that up as you go. But I think what helped me was because I've held a microphone, I've held a camera, I've produced, I've interviewed the top riders in the world. I've put, shows, long format shows together, preview shows, wrap-up shows. I did all the bar-to-bar DVDs back in the day. And that just honed in my skill to learn how to interact with these guys, how to ask the right questions, how to start conversations and not just get yes or no answers, or, yeah, I feel good tonight. I think my bike's going to be great. And it also helped me build relationship with these guys. So, I got to know McGrath a little bit better as the years went on, and Ricky and those guys. And so they would give me a little bit more time and be like, okay, yeah, sure, and that's how I got to get my skills honed in. And then from there, obviously now, I oversee the show itself. So I'll work with Chris Bond, and we go down the format. We look at storylines, and we look at, who's doing what and what happened last week or what happened last year. And him and I go way back, so we can speak of 15 years of racing and be like, oh, yeah, okay, so this happened here or this or that. Like, we remember little things that can, we throw into the show or whatever like that, things like that. So I think that's kind of it's helped me out a lot. I mean, it was definitely how I got into it,
Something that I think the fans may not understand is this is all housed within Feld, the TV production. Mm-hmm. With moving to a new network this year, does it change up the requirements, or are they looking for different styles?
I think we're going to try some new things. We'll see. I mean, that's always the plan. Even if we weren't changing networks, we would try new things. For right now, I would say like the majority of it, is going to be standard. I mean, you're gonna see, like I said, the heat races. You'll see the mains. You'll see the podium interviews. But I can tell you that Chris Bond and myself, we've spoken, and there's things we want to try. Maybe bring in some new cameras, or start miking up some different people, or get more pit coverage in the back, because I feel like that's where a lot of the storylines are that the fans don't get to see.
Somebody goes out in the middle of a race.
Yeah,
we don't always know what happened.
and I learned that very, very quickly when I was producing Chasing the Dream series, the 4 documentaries we did. And man, really quick we realized that everything was in the pits. We got some really good stuff with Roxon back there. We got really good stuff with Pike and that kind of stuff. So to answer your question, yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I don't want to say standard, but yeah, it's going to be the same format to a point. But I think in the next year or two, you're going to see changes happen, little by little, and it's going to be hopefully a better show.
But they don't need to worry that it's going to be wildly unfamiliar.
Oh, no. I mean, we know that the core audience, they want to see racing. That's what they want. They want to see their heroes, battle it out on the track, and that's what we're going to give them. We're going to give them, we're going to give them the best storylines, but at the end of the day, our job's to cover the racing.
I know you've been chasing for a while, trying to get live cams on riders. Is that something we see in the future?
We've talked about it. To be honest with you, a lot of that's technology. We deal with open stadiums, and then we have closed stadiums, and that sometimes is a problem. And so it may work, let's say, in Anaheim, but it may not work in Indianapolis. So it's one of those things like, well, until we get it dialed in, we don't want to just, here and there splash it. Sprinkle it. Like it's kind of like saying, well, we use the spider cam here, but we're not going to use it there. Everybody loves the spider cam, so we want to make sure we can use it everywhere we go. So
that one's hard to set up at Daytona, though.
But yeah, that's a little hard to do. Yeah, for sure. So no, there's been talk about it, but it just hasn't happened yet, and it's more technical stuff than anything else.
What all goes into the TV production? I mean, how many trucks is it? What's, or how many cameras? You got spider cam, you got corner cams. You have a bunch of different stuff.
It's people would be blown away if they really saw what we put out there. It's a full-on crew. Usually we have anywhere from 60 to 80, maybe sometimes 100 people on the crew working it. Basically, we have 20 plus cameras. We have 40 plus microphones on the track. And then, in the TV truck, you'll have the control room, which is what we call it. And that's where you'll see like our producer, Chris Bond, and Jeff Manhart, and our AD, and Mike McEwen, and our technical director, Wayne. And they're the ones, that are calling the shots and putting the show together. But then we have another room, and it's the tape room. And that's where it's going crazy. And like, they're recording the highlights, and they're calling and say, hey, we have the slow-mo, or like when you guys see a crash, like they're the ones telling Bondo, hey, we've got the crash, and this is all happening real time. So it's kind of like a dance in there, it's intense, but it's kind of like a dance. We have a full-blown RF company that they come in, and that means that they have like the wireless packs for our announcers on the floor and for the guys in the booth. We also have them carrying monitors so you can see what's going on the track. But also has to be able to talk to Ralph and Ricky and also the truck. So there's a lot of communication going around. So it's a lot, And then we have a full-blown edit truck, and we have 2 editors going there, plus another technical guy in there. And they're cutting features and segments throughout Thursday and Friday, and sometimes even Saturday. And then even during the night, like they're spitting footage to that truck, and they're cutting stuff. So when they're like, hey, we'll be right back, you may see footage that just happened. They did it, you know what I mean? Or a feature that they did earlier in the day, it's going to roll into the night show. So it's all hands on deck. It's big.
Highlights for a wrap-up show, all that stuff.
Yeah,
too?
All that stuff. Yeah, for sure, 100%.
How big is that list before the night starts of things that you need to get?
Chris does a format, and so we know what the show's going to look like on paper. And then everyone pretty much has their assignments, like, okay, you're going to take care of this edit, or you're going to take care of this footage, or, make sure this mic's working, or please make sure Ralph has, the right backdrop, or if we have a guest speaker coming in, like, he may be like, hey, can we get such and such in the booth? We have to make sure there's an extra microphone. Otherwise, what do we do? So, it's just a lot of people, a lot of moving parts.
I guess racing dictates some of what happens out there, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 100%. I mean, we got to follow the story. So, yeah, like I said, if something happens and let's say someone gets injured, we're hoping to get back into the pits. We're trying to get a soundbite from the team manager or the rider or a wife, girlfriend, whatever it may be. But, yeah, the racing dictates absolutely everything we're going to do.
What are you most looking forward to this year?
I think just presenting Supercross at its best, showcasing it, and showing it that it's the elite. It's the best in the world. And you're going to be entertained by the best riders in the world. And I think our job is to show the fans how good these guys really are. And so I think it's important because otherwise the sport's not going to grow. So for me, I think that's what not only myself, but I think the TV crew looks forward to is, putting on your A game and getting our product out there and making it look as best as possible.
It's challenging to show how fast these guys are and how good they are. Yeah, that's one thing. It's funny you say that. It's one thing I've always it's bothered me since '95. I'll be honest. I'll watch the sport and I'm like, it just doesn't do justice, right? It just, you look at it and it just, they're going over the triple, they're blitzing the whoops, or look at that, the quad they're doing. But one of the things I think that can help that, and we tried it last year, and we're going to keep trying it until we're going to get it right. But you need to bring some of the cameras, not all of them, but some of them lower to the ground, and that helps. Mm-hmm. Definitely, there's more things that we can do. We can put a RoboCam somewhere different, and those are like the POV cameras that inside right that mm-hmm. capture them coming around the corner. But I think if we lower some of the cameras, that's going to enhance the way they see the speed. And I actually learned that. Again, more so from holding a camera for all those years, but especially when we were doing Chasing the Dream and we had like 5 or 6 cameras rolling and we had them all over the track and we brought them back and we would start editing and I'm like, man, they're just whipping by and like, look at that speed. I'm like, how do I get that on the broadcast? So that's kind of one of my goals that I want to do in the future. But you also have to make it safe for the cameraman
for sure.
And the riders
for
at
sure.
the same time.
100%. So again, it's a balance, right? So yeah, but we'll figure it out.
Well, cool. I appreciate the time.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up in the parade here is J-Laws. But fans are going to go, wait, J-Law? J-Law's back?
No.
Okay.
J-Laws.
Tell me you got some of his gear, though.
I do have. I have a shirt from back in the day, which my niece inherited. With all the guys on the road, I'd managed to get a piece of merchandise once in a while.
Gotcha. So what's role and responsibility for you?
So I'm the senior art director at Feld, and we have the awesome responsibility of putting the ads and the marketing and as much of the look as is needed for Supercross. We're a part of that team.
Looking, wandering through, say, in Vegas, it's kind of like star building also with some of the giant blow-ups of the riders and things like that.
Yeah, that's one of the most fun projects, because that's where we're taking some of the stuff like we're doing today, getting ready for the season, the portraits of the riders. It's easy to make them look cool. They're cool guys, but just get those banners nice and big, get that star power out there. Yeah, it's awesome.
So how did you get started in this, and how many years?
I started in the T-shirt industry back in the day, then went into toys, and then getting to be a part of what's now Feld was really right place, right time, and that's how that panned out. So going from T-shirts to toys, which is pretty fun for a graphic designer, and then being able to go into motorcycles and monster trucks as well was it doesn't get any more fun than that.
Yeah. So responsible for a lot of the look and image and sort of brand of what Supercross is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all part of a team. So whether if it's print, you want that to align with what you see on the television, and been in the game long enough that it was really before there was much of a digital presence. So it's just being part of that team to make sure it all looks good and is consistent and is dynamic and gives the sport what it deserves. The sport itself is what makes people want to show up, so you get a head start. So it's really just making sure your game is as high as the sport is itself, that you want to do it justice. You want it to be as cool as what they're seeing on the track. You want an ad or a poster or a DVD cover back in the day, to date myself. You want that thing to represent, just as awesome, everything as awesome as the sport is. And so, when you talk about the history, as a kid growing up, knowing you wanted to do art, it was album covers. And those, vinyl went away for a long time. But when we got to do some of our first DVDs covers and stuff with Doug, who we talked to, that was like a big accomplishment. That was like getting a record cover done. When you got to do a DVD that had James Stewart and his pink gear on it, like working with some of the best photographers, it's pretty fun accomplishment. And but most importantly, just that it looked cool, and that whoever was going to grab that said, yeah, this matches. This is as cool as what's going to be inside of it.
Is that back to the bar-to-bar video or DVDs?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Wait, did you go back to video days, or was it DVDs?
Man, that's a good question. I think I was right at that transition. I probably had a couple years of the VHS, but thanks for that. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to age you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of the gig?
I think it's really getting a chance to work with elite athletes. I mean, that's when you boil it all down, it's that's probably really what it is. We don't have to travel as much as these road warriors. So the TV guys and the ops guys, they got to be there week after week. But a lot of times at the beginning of the season, our work is 90% there. Do we have the banners right, or the signage right, or does the podium backdrop look good, and marketing is aligned, and that sort of thing. But then to watch it on TV or go to the events, you go to a couple events every year, and to just realize you're a part of this elite level of entertainment and competition and the sport itself. Just to be a small part of that is you feel blessed. You know you're a part of something special.
I'm guessing lots of Photoshop seat time.
Photoshop is definitely the
Composite.
yeah, you know, but you can't sit on any sort of skill because everything has evolved so much. So yeah, when started the gig, like we were talking before, it was getting that weekly ad out to Cycle News, and now it's the digital stuff, the social stuff that you need to be on top of your game at the minute.
The treadmill's a lot faster.
And the treadmill's a lot faster. And you know, the even there, the technology is it's a blessing, but it's a demand because there's no reason why it can't be there today. It can be, and it will be, and it needs to be. So you have to raise your game, and just like any talent or opportunity, you got to keep up with what's next. So now we're a part of such a talented team that motion graphics, animation, all those things are happening so fast that Photoshop is where I do my best work, but it's all part of that team. That's absolutely sure.
You need a lot of tools in the tool belt, I guess.
A lot of team members. Yeah. We all share in a tool belt for sure, yeah. You know, working with the photographers, the sport can tell its own story. And so that's also a nice thing, too, about sophisticated design, I think. You don't need too much dressing to make Supercross look killer. I mean, the big air, a nice hole shot doesn't need too much graphic design or dress up or fanciness to it. That all that art is right there. The colors of the sport and the speed of the sport. If you can find the right photos, you really don't need too much design, for sure.
Do you have a shot list for your guys every week?
Well, yeah, we have a shot list, but I would say you know what you can't miss more than you can predict what you want to get. I mean, there's the basics, right? You want to make sure you got all the great hole shots. Do you got good finish line shots? Do you have good starting gates? Do you have and getting a mix of all that? It's more almost what you can't miss. You just can't miss those things.
Well, I think that's part of what brings me back every week is trying to capture those moments.
Sure. Yeah. Certainly, you know, some of my favorites that are off the track is getting that epic full stadium shot right at opening ceremonies when the pyro goes off. That's not really the action of the sport, but it is the spectacle. Mm-hmm. And so that's always some of my favorites. When you see that full bowl and you see you got everyone into the stadium and they're ready, it's epic. And from going to the races, you still get a chill. If opening ceremonies doesn't give you a chill, then there's something wrong.
All right, that's it for the Inside Line this time around. Hopefully you got some questions answered and maybe have a little bit better understanding of some of the inner workings of the series. Before we head out, we have to thank our sponsors. The Inside Line is presented by Thor. Remember, for over 50 years, Thor MX has been at the forefront of motocross racewear innovation with products that are purpose-built to help riders perform at the highest level in one of the most demanding sports in the world. The 2019 collection, featuring the revolutionary Prime Pro racewear, is available now. Head to thormx.com to learn more. We also have to thank Chaparral Motorsports. For more than 30 years, Chaparral Motorsports has been sharing its love of dirt bikes with like-minded individuals by offering a massive selection of the latest riding gear, new models, parts and accessories, and great pricing on tires. Visit chapmoto.com. That's chapmoto.com. Ready for some more bench racing? Look for the next Inside Line soon. In the meantime, you can subscribe to the show via your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss any future episodes, and you can also go back and check out previous shows. If you're feeling really generous, leaving us a review and rating help. Thanks.